Greetings to you from Theosophical Wisdom Podcast. Continuing our series of podcasts on the subject of the law of karma and reincarnation, we are considering in this podcast, sixth in the series, the question, why do we not remember our past life? Probably it would help you to better understand the topic we are considering now if we but briefly recapitulate the topics we considered in the previous 5 podcasts. In the first episode, we talked about what is Theosophical wisdom, its importance in affording solutions to the mysteries and problems of life. In the second and third episodes, we talked about twin laws of karma and reincarnation. And in the fourth episode, it was shown that the law of heredity and genetics are the very means by which the law of karma operates and are subservient to it. In the fifth episode, we dealt with the subject of cause of injustice in society. Now, coming to this, our sixth in the series, we endeavor to show why people in general do not remember incidents, events, and experiences of past life, that is, of our past incarnation. 2 of the objections, among the many others, brought against the doctrine of karma and reincarnation are, first, we do not remember the events and experiences of our past life, therefore, theory of reincarnation cannot be true. Second objection brought against reincarnation is, it is unjust and arbitrary that we should suffer in the present life for offences or sins we are supposed to have committed in past life because we do not remember mistakes and offences we are supposed to have committed in previous lives. We will take up the first objection that since we do not remember our past life, reincarnation cannot be true in this podcast, and take up the second objection in the next podcast, the 7th. Let us discuss the first objection commonly brought against the doctrine of karma and reincarnation. We do not remember the events of past life or lives we are supposed to have lived. Therefore, the theory of reincarnation cannot be true. This is the objection. The line of reasoning Theosophical wisdom puts forward in response to the objection are the following. Is it not true that we do not remember many incidents in our present life itself? For instance, we do not generally remember the sensations and perceptions and experiences of our life when we were infants, do we? We have forgotten many of the details of our thoughts, feelings, and actions during our childhood. Because we are not able to recall incidents of our life during infancy and of many things we did during our childhood, is it the reason to say we did not pass through the stages of infancy and childhood? If many instances of daily life, even in our adulthood, in the present life, are forgotten by us, or of which we have no recollection, is it a sound reason to say we did not witness and experience those incidents? If memories of the bulk of our experiences in the present life itself are evasive, that is, which we are not able to recall, what possibility can there be for us to recall to our mind incidents and experiences so far off as previous incarnation? Therefore, The first objection against the theory of reincarnation, of non-remembrance of previous incarnations, is not reasonable and therefore not valid. Another more weighty reason for non-remembrance of previous life is that in this life we are now living, we were born with a new body, a new brain, a new mind and sensorium which never had participated in the soul's experience in the previous life. Then, how can we, with this body, brain and mind which are new, remember the soul's experiences through the body, mind and senses of previous incarnation and which perished? Can the new clothes you stitch and wear today bear any marking of dirt or damage of the old clothes you wore a year back and discarded? It cannot. In the same way, in each new incarnation, a new body and brain, mind and physical life are obtained which are not participants in the thoughts and deeds and memory of the body in previous life which perished. That is the reason why we do not remember our past incarnations. Next sequential question is, where then is the memory of past incarnations to be found? Theosophical wisdom says that the memory of past incarnations are to be found in the immortal soul ego which reincarnates again and again. Here we come upon a very important esoteric truth, that is, the dual nature of our ego or manas. A careful attention must be paid to grasp this verity. We have two aspects, one higher, immortal, and the other lower, mortal. The higher, immortal aspect of our true self, our true identity, this is the real man, divine ego. The lower mortal aspect is a temporary reflection on earth in this body of the higher self, the real man. This reflection, the mortal perishable man with name and form, is the personality. There is the real man who is not touched by time and change, and there is apparent man on earth, earthy, who is subject to time and change. Real man is spirit, soul, mind, Atma, Buddhi, Manas. It is three in one and one in three aspects. This is the higher self, one with the universal self. It is divine reincarnating ego. It is too divine and pure and universal to incarnate directly in the corruption of the flesh. Therefore, what reincarnates is its proxy. When time comes for reincarnation, the divine ego emanates a portion of its essence like a ray of light from the sun, which makes connection with a fetus at a certain stage of its intrauterine development, usually in the 7th month. This emanated mind is the lower mortal self and mind which works with the body and cerebral neurological system and experiences physical and mental life. This reflected self is mortal personality. It is a temporary reflection of its divine parent who overshadows the earthly personality. The higher self thus incarnates indirectly through its reflected image, the mortal personal self. So, each one of us have two aspects. One, the immortal divine ego, and its temporary reflection on earth, the lower mind man, mortal personality. At the end of each earth life, the divine ego gleans the quintessence of the experiences of its earthly shadow, like the bee collects honey from the flower which is perishable. Similarly, the reincarnating ego, the soul, gathers at the end of each incarnation the essence of experiences of that life, allowing the personality to perish like the flower is allowed to perish by the bee after it collects honey from it. The real man, the divine ego, knows all the essence of the memory and experiences of its almost countless reincarnations of an immense past. The higher self, the real man, knows past, present and the future of all the karma of its numerous reincarnations and knows the absolute justice of it all. But the earthly mortal self is ignorant of it. This ignorance of man, of his true self and nature, is called nescience in English and avidya in Sanskrit. We live our personal life wholly engrossed in material interests, pursuing our lower passions and desires, whole life tending to selfish ends, so that the whole of our physical, mental and moral nature and brain substance have become so coarse and crude that the superfine spiritual rays of impersonal divine self cannot penetrate and illuminate the lower mind. Given such a hopeless condition in which we are, which is of course self-created, can we recall experiences of our past lives? Yes, we can. To remember past lives, one must study and learn well timeless wisdom science, the science of self, Atma Vidya, apply the laws and principles of the higher life in life so as to refine and attune the personal self and mind to vibrate in union and harmony with his divine ego self. When purified, the lower personal self and mind becomes one with its heavenly parent, the higher self. Then man attains immortality and will know all the past, the present and the future. Man becomes divine. This union with divinity within oneself is what Jesus preached when he said, quote, "I and my Father are one," unquote. This is said in Gospel according to John 10:30. But there are very few who remember past lives in this way. When Arjuna asked Krishna how he had to understand that he taught the sacred science to Vivaswan many ages ago when he, Krishna, was born at a time when Arjuna lived. Krishna said that he had had many births before and that he knows them all, but that Arjuna, being still imperfect, does not know the past births of his. Gautama Buddha recalled a series of his past births narrated in the Jataka tales. Now, coming to the question of our culpability in the present life for the deeds done in the previous lives, the doctrine of the dual ego should answer the question raised a little while ago: how can a man be held responsible for offences done in previous life of which he does not remember anything at all? This particular question will be taken up for detailed deliberation in the next podcast. In this episode of the podcast, only a few of these profound truths are touched upon. This should naturally give rise to many questions or comments from listeners. Questions or comments, if any, may please be sent to the email ID www.ultindia.org or bangaloreult@gmail.com. bangaloreult@gmail.com. Before we end this episode, we must say that we have not considered the question of exceptional incidents of some children who have remembered and narrated incidents of their previous life. But as they grow up, the remembrance is obliterated. Interested listeners may read the book titled, in quotes, Before, written by Jim B. Tucker, 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 MD, University of Virginia. The reason why this happens is not dealt with now because it involves an understanding in detail the inner constitution of the subtle body within the physical body and after-death states of consciousness. It will be lengthy and will be discussed in a later episode. So with this, we end this particular episode. Thank you.